Welcome to this Sunday's Gospel Reflection. I'm sorry I could not offer these reflections in the previous couple of weekends because of my indisposition. I remember very clearly, whilst working with Mother Teresa sisters in a leper colony in India, um, there was that young sister who came up to me with tearful eyes. Father, she told me, I have just received a wonderful piece of good news. I have just been told by the doctor that I have contracted leprosy. I was stunned and remained silent for a moment. Spontaneously, I blurted out the question, how can you say this is a piece of good news? And she replied, just as spontaneously, Father, now I am no longer just helping the lepers. I am one of them. That young sister was living the gospel of the resurrection to its fullest. I could not help recall the tearful, shining face of that sister when I was reflecting on today's gospel. You see, doubting Thomas demanded to see and to touch the wounds of Jesus first, before he starts believing that he was really alive. And Jesus kindly obliges, because in the second apparition, Jesus challenges him to do just what he had demanded. Touch the wounds. Put your hand in the open side of Jesus. Is not this what we humans so often demand? Before believing something or someone, we demand to see, we want to touch. Reality is not in the mind, is not wishy-washy good thoughts and desires. Reality needs to be touched. It is hard facts that count, and not just ideas, desires, good intentions, imaginations, prayers. But, and this is a big but, let us not forget that there are two ways of touching. There is the touch and go, and there is the touch and stay kind of touching. The touch and go is the type of touch of a flirting lover who touches his or her companion for their own pleasure. This is not limited to sexual touches, but it covers also the betraying kisses of Judas, the self-centered touches of a doctor or nurse who never sees the patient, but just sees the medical case that is a source of income or status. It is the touch of the crafty business partner shaking hands with his conspirator over a shady deal. It is the tap on the shoulder of an unsuspecting, innocent friend, thirsty for true friendship, but ending up being manipulated on all levels by some self centered, convincing liar who simply exploits that friendship. It is the touch and go embrace of a couple who make a big fuss, a lavish, expensive, impressive wedding reception, but end up in a short lived and bitter marriage. Touch and go. Touch and run away. This kind of touch is actually an act of selfish grabbing, using the other for one's own purposes to get what you want in the way you want. On the other hand, there is the touch and stay type of touch. That young Mother Teresa sister who contracted leprosy knows what I'm talking about. For her, Touching the leper meant identifying with the poor sick leper. For her, it was not just a kind, helping touch. It was a touch that binded her forever with that leper she wanted to help. Ah, now I am one of them. That touch turned her into a leper herself. It transformed her from just being a helper to becoming a sister who could share the pain, the sickness, because now she became one of them. This is the deeper transformation that Jesus wanted Thomas to experience. It was not just a touch to confirm what he thought of or how he saw Jesus. Thomas wanted to verify, to confirm what was being said about Jesus. He is risen, okay, I'll touch him and I know that he's alive. But for Jesus, what was most important was not that Thomas just believes in his resurrection. What was topmost for Jesus was that Thomas would allow himself to be transformed by Jesus' painful death and resurrection. And Thomas, like the other apostles, like you, like me, we all need to rise again to discover this new, this real life that we have been created for. We need to touch Jesus, to stay with Jesus, as Jesus was inviting Thomas to do. Touch and stay means touch and be transformed. Touch and become the real self in Jesus, with Jesus. Touch and be transformed in a new life that Jesus won for us with so much pain and suffering. And for this transformation to happen in us as it happened in Jesus, we need to touch the wounds of our brothers and sisters in a way that their wounds become ours, so that their healing becomes ours. We have to be truly connected to their pains. Real connection means one thing: your pains become my pains. It is the only way for your joys to become my joys. And this kind of connection is possible only for those whose love is deep and real. This is the way God loves us, by taking upon Himself my pain, your pain, our pain, our leprosy, the misery of our own sinfulness. There is no other way to love and to live. Jesus did not want to just show Thomas how real and fully alive he was. He was not inviting him to just confirm that this was the real Jesus. No, no, no. It is not enough for us humans to have some tangible proof of what we are asked to believe. No, it is not miracles that prove God's existence and His saving life in Jesus. Miracles are just signs, as Jesus said so often. Humble, poor signs of the real, personal, and intimate inner miracle, the transformation of our hearts. That's the greatest miracle. When God transforms our unbelieving and hardened hearts of stone into tender hearts of flesh, capable of loving others so much that their pains, their wounds become really ours. Only then can our joy and peace become truly theirs. If we want to experience, to share the resurrection of Jesus, let us indeed touch His wounds, take up His cross, taste His death, by allowing not just our hands, but our hearts and minds to enter the open side of Christ. Not as curious, inquisitive tourists, but by becoming permanent residents of that infinite and loving heart of Jesus. This is the good news of the resurrection. It's not just the death and resurrection of Jesus, his story. It is indeed our own death to selfishness and sin that, thanks to Jesus, will lead us to make it our own story, so that we too may rise again with him to the new and only real life that we have been created for.